When billionaire Ethan Hale hired Amara as his autistic son's nanny, he never expected his 4-year-old boy, who had never spoken a single word, to whisper, "Mommy," to this black woman on her very first day. What started as a miracle quickly turned into a nightmare when a secretly recorded photo leaked to the world, igniting a firestorm of judgment that would tear their unconventional family apart. As gossip spread like wildfire and enemies emerged from the shadows, Ethan faced an impossible choice: protect his family's reputation or defend the woman who had given his son a voice. But when Amara made the devastating decision that would shatter everything they had built together, none of them were prepared for the shocking revelation that would change their lives forever. Little did they know, the greatest betrayal was yet to come, and it would force them to fight for a love that society refused to accept. If you're watching this incredible story unfold, make sure to subscribe and tell me what city you're watching from. I love connecting with viewers from around the world. Amara Gaines took a deep breath before pressing the doorbell. The house stood tall and neat, with white columns and a wide porch. Everything looked perfect. Too perfect, maybe. She smoothed her simple black dress and checked her watch. 8 o'clock sharp. Just like they'd agreed. The door opened, and a woman with kind eyes and grey hair smiled at her. "You must be Amara. I'm Nadine, the housekeeper. Come in, honey." The inside felt calm but cold. Clean hardwood floors stretched everywhere. Not a single toy in sight. Amara followed Nadine through rooms that looked like they came from a magazine. "The kitchen's here," Nadine said, pointing to a large space with marble counters. "Noah likes his breakfast at 8:30. Same bowl every day. Blue one with the handle." They walked to a corner near the back windows. Soft cushions sat on the floor next to low shelves filled with books and blocks. Everything had its place. "This is Noah's quiet corner," Nadine explained. "When he gets upset, this helps him feel better. See this board?" She pointed to a colorful chart on the wall. "Pictures show what comes next. Breakfast, then playtime, then snack. He needs to know what's coming." Amara nodded, studying the schedule. She'd worked with kids like Noah before. Kids who saw the world differently. Kids who needed gentleness and time. "Where is he now?" Amara asked. "Still sleeping. He wakes up around 8:30, sometimes earlier if there's noise outside." Nadine's voice dropped. "He doesn't like surprises. Goes very quiet when things change too fast." Footsteps on the stairs made them both look up. A tall man appeared, wearing a dark suit and checking his phone. His brown hair was neat, but his eyes looked tired. "Mr. Hale," Nadine said. "This is Amara." Ethan Hale looked up from his phone. His handshake was firm but brief. "Nice to meet you. I hope Nadine's showing you everything." "She's been very helpful," Amara said. She noticed how he kept glancing at his phone, like he was afraid to miss something important. "Good. I have a call at 9, but I'll be in my office if you need anything." He looked at Nadine. "The usual morning routine?" "Of course, Mr. Hale." He nodded and walked toward a door down the hall. Before he reached it, he turned back. "Noah. He's had a hard time with new people lately. Don't take it personally if he doesn't warm up right away." Amara smiled. "I understand. Every child moves at their own speed." Something in his face softened for just a second. Then his phone buzzed, and the moment passed. After he left, Nadine showed Amara where to find snacks and drinks. "Noah likes crackers cut into squares, not triangles, and his cup needs to be half full, no more. He gets upset if it's too much." "Got it." Amara made mental notes about everything. The details mattered with kids like Noah. A soft sound came from upstairs. Not crying, but a little voice making a humming noise. "He's awake," Nadine said. "I'll bring him down in a few minutes. He likes to wake up slow." Amara waited in the quiet corner, looking out the window at the backyard. A swing set sat empty on the grass. No one had used it in a while. When Nadine came back, she had a small boy with her. Noah had messy brown hair like his father and the biggest blue eyes Amara had ever seen. He wore soft pajamas with trucks on them and clutched a small red toy car in his hand. He stopped when he saw Amara, pressing closer to Nadine's leg. "It's okay, sweetie," Nadine said. "This is Amara. She's going to play with you today." Noah didn't look at Amara. Instead, he stared at the floor and made that humming sound again. Amara stayed still. She'd learned not to rush kids who needed time to feel safe. "Hi, Noah. I like your car. Is it fast?" He didn't answer, but his humming got a little louder. Nadine helped him sit on the soft cushions in his corner. "I'll get his breakfast ready. Blue bowl, remember?" Alone with Noah, Amara sat cross-legged on the floor a few feet away. Not too close, but close enough that he knew she was there. Noah had put his toy car down and was now watching the way sunlight came through the window. His hands moved in small, quick motions, not nervous, just the way some kids moved when they were thinking. Amara noticed colored blocks on the low shelf. She reached for them slowly, making sure Noah could see what she was doing. She lined them up on the floor. Red, blue, yellow, green. A perfect row. Noah's humming stopped. He was watching now, his head tilted slightly. Amara moved the blue block to the end of the line, then the red one, making a new pattern. She didn't say anything, just let him watch. After a minute, she started humming. Not loud, just a gentle tune her grandmother used to sing, something soft and safe. Noah's shoulders dropped a little. The tight feeling in the room began to fade. Amara kept humming while she played with the blocks. The song was simple, with no words, just notes that flowed together like water. Slowly, very slowly, Noah scooted closer. Not all the way, but closer than before. The humming seemed to wrap around them like a warm blanket. Noah's breathing got slower and deeper. Then something amazing happened. He leaned against Amara's shoulder, just a little lean, like he was testing to see if it felt safe. Amara kept humming and stayed perfectly still. This was trust. Small and fragile, but real. Noah's weight against her shoulder felt warm and right. His toy car was still in his other hand, but he'd stopped gripping it so tight. The sun moved higher, painting golden squares on the floor. Amara's voice stayed soft and steady. She could feel Noah relaxing more with each note. Then he did something that made her heart stop. In a voice barely louder than air, Noah whispered, "Mommy." The word was so quiet, Amara almost thought she'd imagined it. But Noah had frozen against her shoulder, like he was surprised by his own voice. Amara's first thought was to look around, to see if anyone had heard, but Noah was trembling now. The word had scared him. She kept humming, kept her voice calm and low. "You are safe," she whispered back. "You are safe, sweet boy." Noah buried his face in her sweater. His breathing was quick and shallow. Amara wanted to hug him tight, to tell him how wonderful it was that he'd spoken, but she could feel how frightened he was, like he'd done something wrong, so she just held still and kept humming. Her voice became an anchor, something steady in a world that probably felt very big and confusing. Footsteps in the hallway made Noah stiffen. Amara looked up to see Ethan standing in the doorway. His face had gone completely white. He'd heard. Ethan's mouth opened like he wanted to say something, but no words came out. He just stared at his son, who was still hiding against Amara's shoulder. Amara met Ethan's eyes and shook her head slightly. "Not now. Let Noah feel safe first." Ethan seemed to understand. He stayed in the doorway, perfectly still. Noah's breathing began to slow again. The humming was working its magic, pulling him back from whatever scary place the word had taken him. After what felt like forever, Noah lifted his head just enough to peek at his father. Ethan smiled, but it was shaky around the edges. "Good morning, buddy," Ethan said softly. "I heard you wake up." Noah didn't answer, but he didn't hide either. That felt like progress. Nadine appeared behind Ethan with a blue bowl and a spoon. "Breakfast time," she announced cheerfully, like nothing unusual had happened at all. Amara was grateful for Nadine's calm. Noah needed normal right now. He needed to know that speaking hadn't changed everything. "Would you like to eat at the table?" Amara asked Noah. She kept her voice gentle, like the humming. Noah nodded once. A tiny movement, but clear. Getting him to the kitchen table took patience. Noah moved slowly, stopping to touch the wall and count the chairs. Amara stayed close but didn't rush him. When he finally sat down, she pushed the blue bowl closer to him. The cereal was already cut into small pieces. Even his breakfast was designed to make him feel safe. Ethan hovered near the kitchen island, pretending to check his phone. But Amara could see him watching every move his son made. Noah ate 2 spoonfuls, then looked at Amara. She smiled and hummed just a few notes of the same song from before. His shoulders relaxed again. He took another bite. "The humming helps," Ethan said quietly. It wasn't really a question. "Sometimes kids need music to feel calm," Amara replied, "like a warm blanket for their ears." Noah ate 3 more spoonfuls. Better than he'd done with any other new person, Amara guessed. When he was finished, he picked up his toy car and drove it around the edge of his bowl. A tiny red car making tiny car sounds. Ethan checked his watch. I should take that call. Will you be okay here? Amara nodded. We'll work on the morning schedule, nice and slow. As Ethan walked toward his office, Amara heard him pause in the hallway, like he was listening for something, maybe hoping to hear his son's voice again. But Noah had gone quiet, focused on his toy car. The word mommy felt like a secret now, something too big and too precious to repeat, at least not yet. The rest of the morning passed peacefully. Amara and Noah built towers with his blocks. She kept humming, and he kept listening. Sometimes he'd lean against her arm, testing that safe feeling again. By noon, Nadine was making lunch. Cut-up sandwiches and apple slices, arranged just the way Noah liked them. He's doing better than usual, Nadine said quietly. Most new people make him hide under the table. Amara felt proud, but she tried not to show it too much. He's a sweet boy, just needs time to trust. Ethan came back as they were finishing lunch. He looked tired, like his work call had been difficult. How did it go? He asked. Good, Amara said. We played with blocks, looked at some books. Noah showed me his picture schedule. Ethan sat down across from them. And the earlier thing? Amara glanced at Noah, who was driving his car around his empty plate. Kids sometimes use comfort words when they feel safe. It doesn't always mean what adults think it means. Understanding crossed Ethan's face. A comfort word, tied to the song maybe, or just the feeling of being calm. Amara kept her voice casual. The important thing is that he felt safe enough to use his voice. Noah looked up at the word voice, like he was checking to see if anyone was angry about what he'd done. Amara hummed a few notes, and his expression cleared. We'll keep his routine gentle, she continued. Let him know that speaking is always okay, but never required. Ethan nodded slowly. And the word itself? We can help him understand different names for different people. When he's ready. Amara touched Noah's hand lightly. For now, we just celebrate that he's finding his voice. Something in Ethan's eyes looked relieved, like he'd been holding his breath since that moment in the doorway. Would you? Ethan started, then stopped. Would you consider extending your trial period? Maybe 2 weeks instead of 1? Amara looked at Noah, who was still making soft car noises. I'd like that, but I want to be clear about something. What's that? We'll help Noah understand that mommy can be a comfort word tied to feeling safe, but we'll also help him learn people's real names when he's ready. No confusion about roles. Ethan's smile was the first real one she'd seen from him. That sounds perfect. Noah chose that moment to offer his toy car to Amara, not giving it to her, just showing it, sharing. It's a beautiful car, she told him. Red is my favorite color. Noah's mouth almost smiled. Almost. As Amara got ready to leave that first day, she felt hopeful. Noah was going to be okay. Different, maybe. Quiet in his own way, but okay. She just hoped the world would be gentle enough to let him grow at his own speed. Behind her, Ethan was already making dinner plans with Nadine. His voice sounded lighter than it had that morning, and somewhere in his quiet corner, Noah was humming. Just a few notes of the song that had made everything feel safe. It was a start. The next morning, Amara arrived to find Nadine setting up the visual schedule. Breakfast, blocks, walk, quiet time, snack. The same routine that helped Noah know what came next. He woke up asking for the music lady, Nadine said with a smile. Took me a minute to figure out he meant you. Amara's heart warmed. Music lady? I like that. When Noah came downstairs, he went straight to his quiet corner and looked at Amara expectantly, like he was ready for their song. She sat down and started humming the same gentle tune. Noah settled next to her, closer than yesterday. His toy car rested in his lap, but his attention was all on the music. Ethan appeared in the doorway, coffee mug in hand. He looked more relaxed today, like he'd slept better. Morning routine? He asked. Morning routine, Amara agreed. She kept humming while she arranged Noah's blocks in a simple pattern. Noah watched her hands for a few minutes, then did something that made both adults freeze. He leaned closer to Amara and whispered, Mummy. Clearer this time, more sure. But instead of hiding afterward, he stayed close to her shoulder, like the word belonged there. Amara's heart pounded, but she kept her voice steady. I hear you, sweet boy. You feel safe. Ethan's coffee mug trembled in his hand. Hearing his son speak, really speak, was still overwhelming. Noah seemed to sense the big emotions in the room. He looked up at his father with worried eyes. It's okay, Ethan said quickly. You're okay, buddy. But Noah had already turned back to Amara. She was the safe place, the one who came with music and calm voices. Amara hummed a few more notes, and Noah relaxed again. Then he did something that surprised everyone. He picked up his red toy car and offered it to Amara. Not to show her this time, to give. "For me?" she asked softly. Noah nodded, his first clear nod to answer a question. Amara accepted the car carefully. "Thank you, Noah. This is very special." She drove the little car gently along the edge of the cushion. Noah watched with intense focus, like she was performing magic. When she gave it back to him, he immediately offered it again. A game, a way of being together. Ethan sank into a chair nearby, watching his son play. Really play. With another person. He's never, Ethan's voice caught, he's never shared his car before. Amara looked up at him. It's a big step. Sharing means trusting. They played the car game for 10 more minutes. Back and forth, back and forth. Each time, Noah smiled a little more. When Nadine called them for breakfast, Noah stood up slowly. He looked at Amara, then at his father. "Daddy," he said quietly. Not quite daddy, but close. Ethan's eyes filled with tears. "Yeah, buddy, I'm Daddy." Noah nodded and walked to the kitchen table. Like speaking to both his favorite people was the most natural thing in the world. Over breakfast, Ethan made a decision. "I'd like to hire you," he told Amara. "Officially, not just a trial anymore." Amara smiled. "I'd like that too. There might be challenges," Ethan said carefully. "Some people might not understand why Noah connects with you so strongly." Amara thought about the mommy word, how it seemed to scare Ethan as much as it amazed him. "We'll help him learn everyone's names," she said, "when he's ready. For now, we just follow his lead." Ethan nodded. "His lead. I like that." After he left for work, Amara and Noah settled into their routine. Blocks, books, and soft singing. Everything designed to help him feel secure. Around 2 o'clock, they were reading a picture book about trucks when someone knocked on the door. Nadine answered, and Amara heard a young man's voice asking for directions. Something about a delivery for the neighborhood. But when Nadine came back, she looked worried. "That young man was asking a lot of questions," she said quietly. "About the family, about who works here." Amara looked up from the book. "Questions. Wanted to know if Mr. Hale had hired anyone new lately. Said he was updating some kind of service list." Nadine frowned. But he was looking at his phone a lot, like he was taking notes. A cold feeling crept up Amara's spine. "Did you tell him anything?" "Just that he had the wrong house for whatever list he was working on." Nadine checked the front window, but he walked around to the side yard before he left. Near where we have windows, they looked at each other with growing concern. Noah, who had been listening to their quiet voices, moved closer to Amara. He could sense when adults were worried. "It's okay," Amara told him, starting their familiar hum. "We're all safe." But as Noah settled against her shoulder, Amara wondered if that was really true. Someone had been asking questions about this family, about the people who worked here, and for some reason, that felt like the beginning of something difficult. That evening, when Ethan came home, Nadine told him about the strange visitor. "Did he say who he worked for?" Ethan asked. "No, sir. Just mentioned updating a service list. But—" Nadine hesitated. It felt like he was fishing for information. Ethan's jaw tightened. "Anything else?" He spent time looking at the side windows, where the quiet corner is. Amara felt her stomach drop. Someone had been watching the space where she and Noah spent their mornings. "I'll make some calls," Ethan said. "Check with the security company." But that night, as Amara was leaving, she noticed a car parked down the street, just sitting there with the engine running. She couldn't see the driver clearly, but something about it felt wrong. By the time she looked again, the car was gone. Still, as she drove home to her small apartment, Amara couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching the Hale family, and she had a sinking suspicion it had something to do with Noah's precious new words. Wednesday morning brought grey clouds and the threat of rain. Amara arrived to find an envelope on the kitchen counter with Ethan's name written in elegant handwriting. "It was on the doorstep when I got here," Nadine explained. "No delivery truck, just appeared overnight." Ethan read the note while drinking his coffee. His face went carefully blank. "What is it?" Amara asked. "An old friend wants to stop by today. Says she heard Noah is doing better and wants to help." Something in his tone made Amara look closer. "You don't seem happy about it." "Tessa has good intentions," Ethan said slowly. "But," She also has strong opinions about how things should look. Look, image, appearances. She works in public relations. Ethan folded the note. She's also my ex-fiancée. Amara felt her stomach tighten. An ex-fiancée who worked in PR and had opinions about appearances. Does she know about Noah's progress? Apparently. Ethan's voice was grim, which means someone told her. They looked at Nadine, who shook her head. Wasn't me. I don't even know how to reach her. That meant the person asking questions yesterday had found a way to pass information along. When Noah came downstairs, he went straight to Amara like always. But today he seemed to sense the worried energy in the kitchen. Let's do our morning routine, Amara suggested. Nice and normal. In the quiet corner, she started their familiar hum. Noah settled next to her and pulled out his blocks. Same pattern as always, red, blue, yellow, green. But after a few minutes, he looked up at her with serious eyes. Mummy, he whispered, testing the word again. I hear you, Amara whispered back. You're safe. Noah smiled and leaned against her arm. The word still felt like their secret, something special between them. They played with blocks and read picture books until lunch. Normal, peaceful activities that helped Noah feel secure. But around noon, a car pulled into the driveway. Through the window, Amara saw a woman with perfect blonde hair step out of a silver sedan. Everything about her looked polished and expensive. That's Tessa, Nadine said quietly. The doorbell rang, and Noah immediately moved closer to Amara. New people always made him nervous. Tessa's voice carried from the entryway, bright and confident, like someone used to getting attention. Ethan, I brought some things for Noah. Heard he's been making wonderful progress. Amara stayed in the quiet corner with Noah, but she could hear Ethan's voice from the hallway. Tessa, this is unexpected. I know. But when I heard about the breakthrough, I couldn't stay away. A little bird told me Noah spoke his first words. Amara's blood ran cold. Someone had told Tessa about the mommy incident. Footsteps approached the quiet corner, and suddenly Tessa appeared in the doorway. She was even more polished in person, with a bright smile and a gift bag in her hand. Noah immediately pressed against Amara's side and went very still. And you must be the nanny, Tessa said, though her smile didn't quite reach her eyes. I'm Tessa Voss, an old friend of the family. Amara Gaines, Amara replied. She kept her voice calm for Noah's sake. I brought some sensory toys, Tessa continued, setting down the gift bag. I researched the best brands for children with autism. Ethan appeared behind her. Tessa, maybe we should talk in the kitchen. But Tessa was already kneeling down near Noah. Hi, sweetheart. I'm Tessa. I knew your daddy before you were born. Noah buried his face against Amara's arm. He's shy with new people, Amara explained gently. Of course he is. Tessa's voice had a syrupy quality that felt forced, but I hear he's been saying some very interesting words lately. The way she said interesting made Amara's skin crawl. Noah uses his voice when he feels comfortable, Amara said carefully. Tessa stood up, studying them both. And I'm sure you make him very comfortable. It's wonderful when children attach to their caregivers. The word attach felt loaded with meaning. Ethan stepped forward. Tessa, why don't we let Amara and Noah continue their routine? Of course, I was actually hoping we could chat about Noah's progress. I have some ideas about handling the attention this might bring. Attention? Amara asked. Tessa's smile sharpened. A child's first words are always newsworthy, especially when they happen in unique circumstances. Now Amara understood. Tessa knew about the mommy word specifically, and she thought it was something that needed to be handled. Noah's progress is private, Ethan said firmly. For now, Tessa agreed, but if word gets out, and it usually does, you'll want to control the narrative. I can help with that. She pulled a business card from her purse. Think about it. Sometimes stepping back a little can protect everyone involved. The card had her name and the words Crisis, Communication, Specialist. After she left, the house felt heavy with unspoken tension. Noah had gone completely quiet, not even humming. The visit had upset him more than Amara realized. She knows, Amara said to Ethan. About the specific word Noah used, Ethan nodded grimly. Someone's been talking. What did she mean about stepping back? Tessa thinks in terms of optics, how things look to other people. Ethan sat down heavily. She's probably worried that Noah calling you mummy will create the wrong impression. The wrong impression of what? Ethan met her eyes. Of you. Of me. Of what kind of family we are. Amara felt the full weight of what he was saying. A black nanny being called mommy by a white child could indeed create talk, the kind of talk that made some people uncomfortable. "What do you want to do?" she asked. Ethan looked at Noah, who was still pressed against Amara's side. "I want to do what's best for my son. And right now, that's keeping you here." Amara felt relief wash over her. "Even if people talk, let them talk." Ethan's voice was stronger now. "Noah is happy. He's speaking. He feels safe. That matters more than whatever anyone else thinks." As if he'd heard his name, Noah lifted his head and looked at his father. "Daddy," he said quietly. Ethan's eyes filled with tears. "That's right, buddy. I'm Daddy." Then Noah looked at Amara and whispered, "Mommy," not confused, not uncertain, like he had names for the two people who made him feel safe, and he was proud to use them. Amara hummed a few notes of their song, and Noah smiled. Whatever challenges were coming, they would face them together. As a family, even if that word meant something different than what other people expected. That evening, Amara and Ethan sat in the kitchen after Noah had gone to bed. The house felt quiet, but not peaceful. Tessa's visit had left a shadow over everything. "We need to talk about the words Noah uses," Amara said gently. "Help him understand different names for different people." Ethan nodded. "What do you suggest?" Amara had been thinking about this all afternoon. "We can create language anchors. Help him connect feelings to words." Language anchors? Like, "Mommy song means safety," or "Amara is here," or "Daddy's hand." She traced patterns on the table with her finger. "We give him ways to say what he feels without confusion about who people are." Relief crossed Ethan's face. So he can still use the word mommy when he needs comfort, but also learn that Amara is your name. Exactly. No shame about any words he chooses, just more tools to communicate. That sounds perfect. They spent another hour planning how to gently introduce these ideas to Noah. Everything had to be slow and natural. Pushing too hard would only make him retreat. When Amara finally left that night, she felt hopeful again. They had a plan, a way to protect Noah's progress while helping him grow. But as she walked to her car, she noticed a light-colored sedan parked across the street, the same car from yesterday. This time, she could see someone sitting in the driver's seat. The car pulled away as soon as she looked in that direction. Someone was definitely watching the Hale family, and Amara had a terrible feeling it was only going to get worse. Thursday morning started with good news. Noah woke up humming. Not the tune Amara had taught him, but something close to it, his own version. "He's been doing that for 20 minutes, Nadine said with a smile. "Just lying in bed, making music." When Noah came downstairs, he went straight to his quiet corner and looked expectantly at Amara. She sat down and started their familiar song, but this time Noah hummed along, a little harmony that made the music twice as beautiful. "We make good music together," Amara told him. Noah smiled and leaned against her shoulder. "I want to try something new today," she continued. "Some special words that can help you tell people how you feel." She pulled out a small notebook and showed him simple pictures she'd drawn. A heart for safe, a musical note for song, a house for home. "When you feel safe and happy, you can say, 'Mommy song,'" she explained. "That means the feeling, not the person." Noah studied the pictures with serious eyes. "And when you want to say my name, you can say Amara. That's who I am." She pointed to a picture of a stick figure with curly hair. "This is Amara." Then she showed him a picture of a tall stick figure. "And this is Daddy. Your daddy loves you very much." Noah touched the picture of Ethan with one finger. "Daddy," he said quietly. "Yes, that's Daddy." Then he touched the picture of Amara. Amara. It wasn't perfect, but it was clear. He was learning the difference between feelings and names. They practiced for a few minutes, going back and forth between the pictures. Noah seemed to enjoy the game. When Ethan came downstairs, Noah looked up from the notebook. "Daddy," he said with confidence. Ethan's whole face lit up. "Good morning, Noah." Then Noah looked at Amara. "Amara." "Good morning, Amara," Ethan said, including her in the greeting ritual. Finally, Noah touched the heart picture. "Mommy song," he whispered. "You feel safe," Amara translated. "That's wonderful." Ethan sat down on the floor with them. "This is brilliant. He's learning to name his feelings." They spent the morning working with the picture cards. Noah caught on quickly, like he'd been waiting for these tools all along. But around 10 o'clock, Ethan's phone started buzzing with text messages. He frowned as he read them. More people asking questions about our family. What kind of questions? Amara asked. Someone's been telling people that Noah had a breakthrough with his nanny. Now everyone wants details. Amara felt her stomach tighten. What kind of details? Ethan showed her one of the texts. Is it true the kid called the nanny Mom? Heard it was pretty dramatic. How do they even know that? Amara whispered. Tessa's been busy, Ethan said grimly. She's sharing the good news with our social circle. Another text popped up. This one had a photo attached. Amara's heart sank. It was a picture of her and Noah in the quiet corner. Noah was leaning against her shoulder, and they both looked peaceful and happy. When was this taken? She asked. Yesterday, looks like. During our morning routine. Someone was outside the window? Ethan's jaw clenched. I'm calling the police. But even as he reached for his phone, they both knew the damage was done. The photo was already spreading through text messages. Within an hour, Ethan's phone had 15 more messages. People asking about the new nanny situation. People offering advice about proper boundaries. People wanting to know if the rumors were true. One message made Amara's blood run cold. That photo is sweet, but you might want to think about how it looks to outsiders. Black woman, white child, calling her mommy. People will talk. Ethan deleted the message immediately, but not before Amara had read it. I should probably go home, she said quietly. No, Ethan's voice was firm. We're not letting gossip change what's best for Noah. But Amara could see the stress in his eyes. The photo had created exactly the kind of attention Tessa had warned about. They kept Noah's routine as normal as possible, but the phone kept buzzing. More messages, more questions, more helpful advice from people who didn't understand what they were seeing. That afternoon, while Noah was napping, the doorbell rang. Through the window, they saw a delivery truck. The driver had an envelope and a small package, but when Nadine answered the door, the driver started asking questions. Is this where the special needs kid lives? Heard he's got a new caregiver who's really helping him out. Nadine closed the door without taking the delivery. There was no package, she told Ethan and Amara. He was fishing for information. Ethan called the delivery company. There was no scheduled delivery to their address. Someone was sending fake delivery drivers to gather information about their family. By evening, Ethan had turned off his phone completely. The constant messages were making everyone nervous, including Noah. We need a plan, he told Amara, as they sat in the kitchen after dinner. What kind of plan? A way to protect Noah from all this attention, and a way to protect you. Amara looked at him carefully. Protect me from what? From people who want to turn your relationship with Noah into something ugly. The words hung between them like a heavy curtain. Maybe they have a point, Amara said quietly. Maybe I am too close to him. Don't say that. Ethan's voice was sharp. You've given my son his voice back. You've made him happy for the first time in months. I don't care what anyone else thinks about it. But Amara could see the cost of this attention in his tired eyes. The constant defending was wearing him down. What if we tried to explain it better? She suggested. Help people understand that Noah's words are about feeling safe, not about replacing anyone. You think that would work? It might, if we could control the story, instead of letting other people tell it for us. Ethan considered this. Tessa did offer to help with that. Do you trust her? I trust her to protect the family image. I'm not sure I trust her to protect you. That night, as Amara was leaving, she noticed the light-colored sedan again. This time, it followed her for 3 blocks before turning away. Someone was definitely watching her now, not just the house. She thought about Noah's sweet voice saying Amara and Mummy song, about how proud he'd been to use his new words. Was she really helping him, or was her presence making his life more complicated? For the first time since she'd started this job, Amara wasn't sure. Friday morning brought a break in the storm. No delivery drivers with fake packages, no cars following Amara to work. Even Ethan's phone stayed quiet. Maybe people lost interest, Nadine suggested hopefully. But Amara had a feeling they were just in the eye of the hurricane. She and Noah worked with the picture cards again. He was getting better at switching between Mommy Song for feelings and Amara for her name. When he felt overwhelmed, he'd point to the heart and whisper, Mummy Song. When he wanted her attention, he'd say, Amara, clearly. The system was working. Noah had more ways to communicate, and the words felt less loaded with confusion. Look at this, Ethan said, coming into the quiet corner with a small notebook. I wrote down every new word he's used this week. Amara read the list. Mummy, Amara, Daddy, Song, Safe. More, please. 7 clear words, plus several others that were close. He's had more language progress this week than in the past 6 months. Ethan continued. Whatever we're doing is working. Around noon, they decided to try a short trip to the neighborhood park. It was a quiet time of day, and Noah needed fresh air. The park was nearly empty except for one jogger and a woman with a baby stroller. Perfect for Noah, who got overwhelmed when there were too many people. Amara brought a few toys and a blanket. Simple things that would help Noah feel secure in the new environment. They found a shady spot near the playground. Noah sat on the blanket and arranged his blocks in his familiar pattern. Want to try the swings? Amara asked. Noah looked at the swing set with interest, but didn't move toward it. We can go slow, she said. Just see how it feels. She stood up and walked to the closest swing. Noah watched her sit down and move gently back and forth. After a few minutes, he stood up and walked over, not ready to try it himself, but curious. Amara got off the swing. Your turn? Noah touched the seat with one finger, then shook his head. That's okay. Maybe next time. But then he surprised her. He started clapping his hands in a simple rhythm. Clap, clap, pause. Clap, clap, pause. Amara joined in, matching his rhythm exactly. Noah smiled and changed the pattern. Clap, pause, clap, clap. Amara followed his lead. Back and forth they went, creating music together without words. Noah leading, Amara following, then switching roles. From the blanket, Ethan watched with amazement. This was the first time he'd seen his son initiate play with another person. The clapping game went on for 10 minutes. Noah laughed, actually laughed, when Amara tried a tricky rhythm and got it wrong. He's playing, Ethan said quietly. Really playing. When they finally sat back down on the blanket, Noah was more relaxed than Amara had ever seen him. The fresh air and movement had helped calm his nervous system. Daddy, he said, looking at Ethan. Yes, buddy? Noah pointed to Amara. Amara. That's right. Amara's here with us. Then Noah touched his own chest, like he was trying to say something about himself. What is it, sweet boy? Amara asked. Noah struggled with the words for a moment. Then, very clearly, he said, Noah, his own name, clear and proud. Ethan's eyes filled with tears. Yes, you're Noah. That's your name. Noah smiled and said it again. Noah. The ride home was peaceful. Noah fell asleep in his car seat, worn out from all the new communication. He said his own name, Ethan said quietly. I never thought. He's finding his voice, Amara replied. All of it, not just the words, his own identity. How do we protect that? With all this attention and gossip, Amara had been thinking about the same thing. We focus on him, not on what other people think, not on managing their opinions, just on Noah. And if the pressure gets worse, then we figure it out together, as a team. That afternoon, while Noah napped, Ethan made some difficult phone calls. He told friends and family members that Noah was making progress, but that they needed privacy to continue the work. Most people were understanding. A few were pushier, wanting details about the breakthrough story. Ethan kept his responses simple. Noah is learning to communicate. We're very proud of him. But that evening, as Amara was getting ready to leave, Ethan's phone buzzed with a message that made them both freeze. It was from Tessa. Check your email. Someone's planning a blog post about Noah's story. Thought you should know. Ethan's laptop was already open on the kitchen counter. The email was from someone Amara didn't recognize, but the subject line made her stomach drop. When a special child calls his nanny, Mommy, a heartwarming or concerning story. They want to interview us, Ethan said, reading the message. Offer our perspective on the unique bond between Noah and his caregiver. What are you going to say? I'm going to say no. Absolutely not. But as he typed his response, Amara wondered if refusing would just make the blogger more determined to publish the story without their input. Maybe we should consider talking to them, she said quietly. Tell our side before they make up their own version. Ethan looked at her with surprise. You want to go public with this? I want to protect Noah, and sometimes the best defense is getting ahead of the story. They stared at the email for a long moment, both understanding that whatever they decided would change everything. Finally, Ethan closed the laptop. Let me think about it tonight. We don't have to decide right now. But as Amara drove home, she knew they were running out of time. The story was already out there, spreading through text messages and social media posts. Soon, everyone would have an opinion about the black nanny who made a white child call her Mommy. And Amara wasn't sure any of them would understand what they'd really been doing. Building a family, creating safety, helping a little boy find his voice, the most natural thing in the world. And apparently, the most controversial. Saturday morning brought unexpected visitors. Amara arrived at 8 to find Tessa's car already in the driveway, along with another vehicle she didn't recognize. Through the kitchen window, she could see Tessa sitting at the table with a man in an expensive suit. They had papers spread out between them and were talking in urgent, quiet voices. Nadine met Amara at the back door. She showed up an hour ago with some kind of consultant. Mr. Hale doesn't look happy about it. Inside, Amara could hear Ethan's voice, tight with stress. I said I'd think about it, Tessa. I didn't agree to anything. But waiting just gives the story more time to spread, Tessa replied. Better to get ahead of it with our own narrative. Our narrative? The man in the suit spoke up. What Miss Voss means is that we can frame this story in a way that highlights your son's progress while addressing any concerns about boundaries. Amara felt sick. They were talking about Noah's breakthrough like it was a PR problem to solve. Noah himself was nowhere to be seen, probably still asleep upstairs, which was a blessing. She slipped in through the back door and headed toward the stairs. If Noah was awake, he'd need his morning routine to feel safe, especially with strangers in the house. But halfway up, she heard Tessa say her name. The nanny seems lovely, but we need to be realistic about how this looks to outsiders. Amara is not the nanny, Ethan said firmly. She's Noah's caregiver and my employee. Show some respect. Of course. I didn't mean anything by it. Tessa's voice dripped with fake apology. But you have to admit, the optics are challenging. The optics? A black woman caring for a white child who calls her mommy. In today's climate, that raises questions. What kind of questions? Ethan's voice was dangerously quiet. The consultant jumped in. Questions about attachment, boundaries, appropriate relationships. Nothing personal against Miss Gaines, of course. Just perception management. Amara had heard enough. She continued upstairs, her heart pounding with anger and hurt. In Noah's room, she found him awake and sitting in his bed, looking worried. He'd probably heard the unfamiliar voices downstairs. "Good morning, sweet boy," she said softly. "Amara," he said immediately, reaching for her. She sat on the edge of his bed and started humming their morning song. Noah relaxed into the familiar routine. "Scared," he said, pointing downstairs. It was a new word, a feeling word. He was learning to name his emotions. "I know, there are new people here today, but you're safe with me." "Mommy song?" he asked. "Yes, mommy song means safe." She hummed a few more notes, and Noah's breathing slowed. After a few minutes, he was ready to get up. They went downstairs together, hand in hand. In the kitchen, the conversation stopped when they appeared. Tessa's smile looked forced. "Good morning, Noah. How's my favorite little boy?" Noah pressed against Amara's leg and didn't respond. "He's shy with new people," Amara explained. "His morning routine helps him feel comfortable." "Of course," said the consultant. "We were just discussing ways to support Noah while managing some of the external pressure the family is facing." Ethan stood up. "Tessa, I think this conversation is over, but we haven't reached any decisions about. The decision is that Noah comes first, not image, not perception, not what other people think. My son." The consultant gathered his papers. "Mr. Hale, I understand your protective instincts, but sometimes protecting someone means making difficult choices about what's sustainable long-term." Amara felt a chill run through her. They were talking about removing her from Noah's life. "What's sustainable is what works for Noah," Ethan said firmly. "And what works is the team we have now." After Tessa and the consultant left, the house felt like it was slowly exhaling. Noah sat in his quiet corner with his blocks, but he kept looking toward the door like he was worried the strangers might come back. "New people," he said to Amara. "Yes, but they're gone now. Just us, he repeated, like he was testing the idea that his safe space was still safe. That afternoon, they tried another trip to the park. This time, Noah was brave enough to try the swing. Amara pushed him gently, just high enough to feel the movement without being scared. "More," he said when she stopped. "More swinging?" "More," he confirmed. She pushed him again, and he laughed. A real, delighted laugh that made Ethan smile from the bench where he was sitting. "Again," Noah said when the swing slowed down. Another new word. He was building his vocabulary every day. But on the way home, They passed the light-colored sedan parked on a side street. As soon as Ethan's car appeared, the sedan pulled out and followed at a distance. "We're still being watched," Amara said quietly. Ethan's hands tightened on the steering wheel. "I'm hiring a security company. This has gone far enough." That evening, while Noah was having his bath, Amara and Ethan sat in the living room and talked about what came next. "Tessa's going to keep pushing," Ethan said. "She thinks she's protecting us, but she's really protecting the family reputation. What do you think we should do?" "I think we should trust Noah. Look at him today, laughing, trying new things, using more words. That tells me we're doing something right." Amara felt a wave of relief. "Even if people don't understand, especially if people don't understand." Ethan's voice was strong and sure. "My son matters more than anyone's opinion." From upstairs came the sound of splashing and Noah's voice saying, "Daddy, more water." Ethan smiled. "He's asking for things now, making requests. That's huge progress." "He is getting braver," Amara agreed, "because he feels safe, because you made him feel safe." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, listening to Noah's happy sounds from upstairs. "Whatever happens next," Ethan said, "we face it together." Amara nodded. Together. But as she drove home that night, she couldn't shake the feeling that their biggest challenges were still ahead. The sedan followed her for 4 blocks before disappearing into traffic. Someone was definitely building a file on their family, and Amara suspected that soon the whole world would want to know about the little boy who called his black nanny Mommy, whether they were ready or not. Sunday brought the kind of quiet morning that felt like a gift. No unexpected visitors, no phone calls, no cars following anyone. Just a peaceful house and a little boy who woke up humming. "I was thinking," Ethan said over breakfast, "maybe we could try something special today. The aquarium opens early on Sundays. Fewer crowds." Noah looked up at the word aquarium. He'd seen pictures in his books, but never visited in person. "Fish," he said carefully. "Yes, lots of fish. Big tanks with swimming fish." Noah considered this, then looked at Amara. "Amara comes?" "If she wants to," Ethan replied. "It's her day off, but I'd love to come," Amara said quickly. The idea of seeing Noah experience something new and magical was too good to pass up. They arrived at the aquarium just after opening. The building was huge and modern, with blue-tinted windows that made everything feel like being underwater already. Noah held both their hands as they walked through the entrance, not scared, but careful, ready to explore, but wanting his safe people close. The first exhibit was a shallow touch tank with starfish and sea urchins. Noah wasn't ready for touching yet, but he watched the other children with fascination. "Gentle," he observed, watching a little girl pet a starfish very softly. "Yes, gentle touch," Amara agreed. "The animals like that." They moved through the exhibits slowly. Noah needed time to process each new sight and sound. The dim lighting and quiet atmosphere actually helped him stay calm. But when they reached the jellyfish exhibit, something magical happened. The tanks were tall cylinders filled with glowing, drifting jellyfish. Soft blue light made everything feel peaceful and dreamlike. Noah stopped walking and stared. His mouth opened slightly, and he made a soft, "oh" sound. The jellyfish moved like they were dancing. Slow, graceful, hypnotic. "Beautiful," Noah whispered. It was another new word, and the most complex one he'd used yet. "They are beautiful," Ethan said softly. Noah walked closer to the largest tank. The jellyfish seemed to float right in front of him, just on the other side of the glass. He stood there for a long time, completely still, like he was trying to memorize every detail. Then he did something that made both adults hold their breath. He reached out and took Ethan's hand. Then he reached for Amara's hand. Very carefully, he brought their hands together until they were touching each other while he watched the jellyfish. "Together," he said quietly. It wasn't just a word, it was a statement, a wish, a declaration about who his family was. Standing there in the blue glow, watching impossible sea creatures drift like dreams, Noah had found a way to show them what he wanted. All of them, together. Amara felt tears in her eyes. Ethan's hand was warm and strong, and Noah's small fingers kept their hands connected. "Together," Ethan repeated, his voice rough with emotion. They stayed like that for 10 more minutes. A perfect moment in a chaotic time. On the drive home, Noah fell asleep in his car seat. The excitement and new sights had worn him out, but he looked peaceful. "He said together," Amara said softly. "While holding our hands, Ethan added. That wasn't an accident. They drove in comfortable silence, both thinking about what Noah had shown them. He didn't see barriers between them. He didn't worry about what people would think. He just knew who made him feel safe and loved, and he wanted them to be a team. Whatever comes next, Ethan said as they pulled into the driveway. We remember this moment. Amara nodded. When people try to complicate things, we remember what Noah showed us. But even as she said it, she could see a familiar car parked down the street. The watching wasn't over. If anything, it was getting more intense. That evening, after Noah was asleep, Ethan's phone started buzzing again. More messages, but these felt different, more urgent. The blog post is supposed to go live tomorrow, he told Amara. Someone's been giving them quotes. What kind of quotes? Ethan showed her his phone. The child clearly has attachment issues and may be confused about his caregiver's role in the family. Amara felt sick. Who said that? Anonymous source. Could be anyone who's been watching us. Another message popped up. This one had a photo attached, the picture from their aquarium visit. Someone had followed them and taken photos of their family moment. The caption read, "Is this appropriate? Child holds Nanny's hand like she's his mother." They were there, Amara whispered. At the aquarium. Ethan's face went pale. Someone followed us on a family outing. The violation felt enormous. Their beautiful, private moment had been turned into evidence for people who didn't understand what they were seeing. Maybe I should step back, Amara said quietly. What? Just temporarily, until this dies down. I don't want Noah to get hurt by all this attention. Amara, no. You stepping back will hurt him more than any blog post. But Amara was thinking about the photos, the quotes, the constant watching. What if they're right about the boundaries? What if I am too involved? Look at me, Ethan said firmly. Noah was nonverbal 6 months ago. He barely ate, barely slept, couldn't handle any changes to his routine. Now he's laughing, playing, asking for things he wants. He said the word, together, while holding our hands. Tears started in Amara's eyes. I know, but nothing. You gave him his voice back. You helped him feel safe in the world. I don't care what anyone else thinks about that. They sat in the quiet kitchen, both understanding that everything was about to change. The blog post comes out tomorrow, Ethan said finally. Once it's online, this won't be private anymore. Are you ready for that? Ethan looked toward the stairs, where Noah was sleeping peacefully. I'm ready to protect my son, whatever that takes. Monday morning felt heavy with waiting. The blog post was supposed to go live at some point during the day, and everyone in the house felt the tension. Even Noah seemed to sense that something was different. He stayed close to Amara during their morning routine, asking for "mommy song" more often than usual. Change? He asked, looking between Amara and his father. Kids with autism were often very sensitive to emotional shifts in their caregivers. Noah could feel their worry even if he didn't understand what caused it. No changes to your routine, Amara assured him. Same schedule, same people. But even as she said it, she wondered if that was true. Around 10 o'clock, Ethan's phone started buzzing with notifications. The blog post was live. He read it in the kitchen while Amara and Noah played with blocks in the quiet corner. She could see his face getting tighter with each paragraph. Finally, he set the phone down and rubbed his eyes. Bad? Amara asked quietly. Worse than I expected. They found people willing to go on record with quotes. What kind of quotes? A child development expert saying that Noah's attachment to you could be problematic if not properly managed. A family therapist talking about appropriate boundaries in caregiving, relationships. Amara felt her heart sink. They made it sound unhealthy. They made it sound like we don't know what we're doing. Like Noah is some kind of victim instead of a thriving child. Within an hour, Ethan's phone was ringing constantly. Friends calling to ask if they'd seen the article. Reporters wanting comments. Even some of Noah's doctors asking if they needed to reassess his care plan. By lunch, the story had been shared on social media dozens of times. Comments ranged from supportive to cruel, but most focused on the supposed inappropriateness of Noah's attachment to Amara. This is my fault, Amara said. I should have been more careful about boundaries from the beginning. Stop, Ethan's voice was sharp. You did everything right. You helped a scared, struggling child feel safe enough to use his voice. There is nothing wrong with that. But the constant phone calls were affecting Noah. He kept looking toward the kitchen with worried eyes every time the phone rang. During lunch, he only ate half his sandwich before pushing the plate away. "Scared," he told Amara. "What are you scared of, sweet boy?" Noah pointed toward the kitchen, where Ethan was on another difficult phone call. "Daddy sad?" Amara felt her heart break. Noah could sense his father's stress, and it was making him anxious. "Daddy's not sad about you," she explained. "Some grown-ups are saying silly things, and Daddy has to talk to them on the phone. Silly things about Noah and about me, but they don't understand how special you are." Noah thought about this for a moment. Silly grown-ups. Yes, sometimes grown-ups can be very silly. That afternoon, while Noah napped, Amara made a decision that felt like tearing her heart in half. She wrote a letter. "Dear Ethan," it began, "I love Noah like he was my own child. That love has helped him grow and find his voice. But I can see that my presence is creating problems for your family that I never intended." She went on to explain that she thought a temporary break might help the attention die down, that Noah was strong enough now to handle transitions better, that maybe some distance would prove to everyone that their relationship had been appropriate and helpful, not problematic. She left the letter on the kitchen counter after Noah woke up from his nap. They had a normal afternoon. Books, blocks, and gentle songs. Noah said "Amara" 6 times and "Daddy" 4 times. He asked for more juice and said "please" without being reminded. All the progress they'd made together was right there in those ordinary moments. At bedtime, Noah wanted the full routine. The humming, the gentle pressure on his shoulders, the quiet "you are safe" that had become their special phrase. "Mummy song," he whispered as his eyes got heavy. "Always," Amara whispered back. "Even when you can't see me, the song is always with you." She thought he was asleep when she stood up to leave. But as she reached the door, his voice stopped her. "Amara, stay?" She turned back to see him sitting up in bed, looking at her with those big blue eyes. "I have to go home now, but I'll see you tomorrow. Promise?" The word hit her like a punch to the chest. He was asking her to promise something she wasn't sure she could keep. "I promise I love you," she said carefully. "Always." It wasn't a lie, but it wasn't the promise he'd asked for either. Noah seemed to understand something was wrong. "Amara, sad? A little sad. But not because of you. Never because of you." She hummed a few notes of their song, and he lay back down. But she could see in his eyes that he knew something was changing. After he fell asleep, Amara gathered her things quietly. Personal items she'd brought to make the job easier, a few books she'd bought for Noah, the notebook where she kept track of his progress, everything that proved how much she'd invested in this little boy's life. She was almost to the door when Ethan found the letter. "Amara," his voice carried from the kitchen, shocked and hurt. She stopped but didn't turn around. If she looked at his face, she might lose her resolve. "This is not the answer," he said, walking toward her with the letter in his hand. "Maybe it is. Maybe some space will prove that what we were doing was healthy. Or maybe it will undo months of progress." Amara finally turned to face him. "The blog post, the photos, the constant watching, it's not going to stop. And Noah can feel the stress. He asked if you were sad. He knows something's wrong. Then we fix the stress. We don't remove the person who makes him feel safe. What if removing me is the only way to protect him from this attention?" Ethan stared at her for a long moment. "Is that what you really think? Or is this about protecting yourself?" The question hit too close to home. Amara felt tears start in her eyes. "I can't bear the idea of people thinking what we did was wrong," she admitted. "Noah calling me Mommy, the way we bonded. What if they're right that it was inappropriate? Look at me," Ethan said gently. "Noah was lost when you started working here. Scared, silent, shutting down from the world. You helped him find his voice and his joy. You gave him tools to communicate and feel safe. How could that ever be wrong? But the boundaries were exactly what they should have been. You never overstepped. You never tried to replace his mother or confuse his understanding of family. You just loved him enough to help him heal." Amara wiped her eyes. "Then why does this feel so hard?" "Because people are trying to turn something beautiful into something shameful. But we don't have to let them." They stood in the hallway, both thinking about the sleeping child upstairs who had brought them together. "What if I stay and the attention gets worse?" Amara asked. "Then we deal with it. Together. And if people keep saying cruel things about our family, then we remember what Noah showed us at the aquarium. We remember what together means to him." Amara looked at the letter in Ethan's hand. Her resignation, her attempt to protect everyone by walking away. "You really think I should stay? I think Noah needs you. I think you need him. And I think the people who matter will see that what we have here is a family that works." Outside, a car door slammed. Probably another curious neighbor or reporter wanting to see the house where the controversial nanny worked. But upstairs, Noah was sleeping peacefully, safe in his own bed, surrounded by people who loved him. That mattered more than any blog post or gossip or stranger's opinion. "Okay," Amara said quietly. "I'll stay." Ethan smiled with relief. "Good, because tomorrow we're going to show everyone what a real family looks like." He tore up the resignation letter and dropped the pieces in the trash. "Together?" he asked, echoing Noah's word from the aquarium. "Together," Amara agreed. But as they heard another car pull up outside, they both knew their biggest challenges were still ahead. The story was out now, public and permanent. Soon, the whole world would have an opinion about their family. They would just have to be strong enough to prove that love was more powerful than judgment, and that sometimes the most unconventional families were also the most real. Tuesday morning brought the aftermath. Ethan's phone had 47 missed calls and over 100 text messages. The blog post had been shared thousands of times overnight. Amara arrived to find news vans parked on the street. "Back door," Nadine said, meeting her in the driveway. "They've been out there since 6 a.m. Inside, the house felt like a fortress under siege. Curtains drawn, phone turned off, everyone speaking in whisper voices. Noah was awake but hadn't come downstairs yet. The unusual activity outside had made him nervous. "How is he?" Amara asked. "Asking for you every 5 minutes," Ethan replied. "He knows something big is happening." When Amara went upstairs, she found Noah sitting in his bed, fully dressed but not moving. "Change," he said when he saw her. Not a question this time, a statement. He could feel that everything was different. "Yes, there's some change happening, but not with us, not with your family." "Amara, stay." "I'm staying. I promised, remember?" Relief washed over his face. "Mummy song?" "Always." She started humming, and Noah's shoulders dropped. The familiar routine was still there, even when everything else felt chaotic. But getting through the morning was harder than usual. Noah kept going to the windows, trying to see why there were so many cars outside. "Lots of people," he observed. "Yes, lots of people, but they're not coming in. Just us in here." The doorbell rang constantly, reporters wanting interviews, neighbors wanting to know what was going on, even delivery drivers who were probably just curious. Nadine handled all of it with stern politeness. "The family is not available for comment." By noon, Noah was overstimulated and cranky. Too much noise, too much disruption to his routine. He had a meltdown during lunch, throwing his sandwich and crying for 10 minutes straight. "Scared," he sobbed into Amara's shoulder. "Too loud." She carried him to his quiet corner and sat with him until the crying stopped. "I know it's loud. I know it's scary. But you're safe. Make it stop," he whispered. "I wish I could, sweet boy, but the people will go away soon." That afternoon, Ethan made a decision. "We're leaving," he announced, "just for a few days. Let this die down." "Where?" Amara asked. "My parents have a cabin about an hour north. Quiet, private, no neighbors." The idea of getting Noah away from all the chaos felt like a relief. They packed quickly. Clothes for a few days, Noah's comfort items, his picture schedule cards. "Trip?" Noah asked, seeing the suitcases. "Yes, a little trip. To a quiet house with trees and birds." "Amara comes?" Ethan looked at Amara. "If she wants to. It's not exactly a vacation." "I want to come," Amara said immediately. Noah needs his routine, even in a new place. Getting to the car meant running a gauntlet of cameras and shouted questions. Ethan carried Noah, who buried his face against his father's shoulder to block out the chaos. "Mr. Hale, is it true your son has attachment issues? Miss Gaines, do you think calling you Mummy is appropriate? What message does this send to other families?" They drove away in silence, leaving the circus behind. In the back seat, Noah gradually relaxed as the city disappeared behind them. "Quiet," he said with satisfaction. "Yes, much quieter now." The cabin was perfect, small and cozy, surrounded by tall trees, the kind of place where Noah could feel safe while processing everything that had happened. That evening, they sat on the porch while Noah played with his blocks. The only sounds were birds singing and wind in the trees. "Better," Noah announced. "Much better," Ethan agreed. For the first time in days, they all felt like they could breathe normally. But even in this peaceful place, Amara knew they would have to go home eventually. And when they did, the world would still be watching, still judging, still trying to decide if their family was real or wrong. She looked at Noah, carefully building a tower with his blocks, completely focused on his task. He didn't know about blog posts or news vans or public opinion. He just knew that his daddy and his Amara were both there, keeping him safe. Maybe that was all that really mattered. The rest was just noise. The cabin gave them 3 days of peace. 3 days where Noah could play without cameras watching, where Ethan could smile without worrying about who might photograph it, where Amara could hum their special song without wondering if someone would call it inappropriate. On the 3rd morning, Noah woke up early and climbed into Ethan's bed. "Home?" he asked. "You want to go home?" "Home," Noah said more firmly. "Our house." Ethan looked surprised. "You're ready to leave here?" Noah nodded. "Home with Daddy and Amara." Even though he was only 4, Noah understood something important. Running away wasn't going to solve their problems. Home was where his family was, and he was ready to claim it. That afternoon, they packed up the car. Noah helped by carrying his own small backpack, proud to be part of getting ready. "Will there still be cars and cameras?" Amara asked. "Probably some," Ethan replied, "but maybe fewer. The story is a few days old now." As they drove home, Noah sat quietly in his car seat, watching the familiar scenery appear. When they turned onto their street, there were only 2 cars parked where there had been dozens before. "Better," Noah observed. Inside their house, everything felt different, calmer, like a storm had passed and left cleaner air behind. Nadine had been keeping watch while they were gone. "Most of the reporters left yesterday," she reported, "just a few stragglers checking back periodically." That evening, they fell back into their normal routine. Dinner at the kitchen table, Noah's bath, bedtime stories in his room. "Back to normal?" Noah asked as Amara tucked him in. "Yes, sweet boy. Back to normal." "Good," he said with satisfaction. But even as life settled back into familiar patterns, Amara knew they couldn't pretend the outside pressure had completely disappeared. The next morning brought proof that the world was still watching. Ethan's phone buzzed with a call from someone unexpected. His father, Mason Hale. "Dad? What's up?" Mason's voice was careful but concerned. "I've been following the news about Noah. Thought I should come see how he's doing." Ethan tensed. His father was a good man, but he'd always been focused on appearances and family reputation. The blog post and media attention had probably worried him for all the wrong reasons. "Noah's doing great, Dad. Better than ever, actually. I'm sure he is, but I'd like to see for myself, if that's all right." An hour later, Mason Hale stood in the entryway of their home. He was tall like Ethan, with grey hair and the kind of serious expression that came from years of running a successful business. Noah, who was playing with blocks in his quiet corner, looked up when he heard the unfamiliar voice. "New person," he told Amara. "Yes, that's your grandpa. Daddy's daddy." Noah considered this information. "Daddy's daddy." "Exactly." Mason approached the quiet corner slowly, clearly trying not to overwhelm his grandson. "Hello, Noah. I'm Grandpa Mason. Do you remember me?" Noah studied his grandfather's face, then shook his head. It had been months since Mason's last visit. "That's okay," Mason said gently. "We can get to know each other again." He sat down on a chair near the quiet corner, not too close but close enough to observe. For the next hour, Mason watched Noah's routine. He saw the picture schedule on the wall, the calm basket with sensory tools, the way Amara guided Noah through transitions with patience and music. He watched Noah say Amara clearly when he wanted her attention. He heard him ask for "more juice, please," at snack time. He saw him share his toy car with Amara, then offer it to his father. Most importantly, he saw how happy Noah looked. Relaxed, communicative, engaged with the world around him. "He's talking," Mason said quietly to Ethan. "About 20 new words in the past month. Plus, he's using sentences now. And the attachment to," Mason looked toward Amara, "is healthy and appropriate," Ethan said firmly. She helped him feel safe enough to find his voice. Mason nodded slowly. He was seeing with his own eyes what the blog post had failed to capture. This wasn't a child with confused attachments or boundary issues. This was a thriving little boy who had found his way to communication and joy. When lunchtime came, Noah surprised everyone. "Grandpa eat?" he asked, looking at Mason. "Would you like Grandpa to eat lunch with us?" Amara translated. "Yes," Noah said clearly. It was the first time he'd willingly included a new person in his routine. Over sandwiches and cut-up fruit, Mason asked gentle questions about Noah's progress. Not challenging or suspicious questions, but genuinely interested ones. How long did it take him to start talking? "The first word came on Amara's first day," Ethan replied. "But building vocabulary has been gradual. What helps him learn new words? Routine, patience, and feeling safe," Amara explained. "He learns best when there's no pressure." Noah, who had been listening to the grown-up conversation, suddenly spoke up. "Grandpa nice," he announced. Mason's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you, Noah. You're very nice too." After lunch, while Noah was napping, Mason sat with Ethan and Amara in the living room. "I owe you an apology," he said to Amara. "I was worried about the wrong things." "What things?" she asked. "Image, what people would think, whether the family reputation would be affected." He shook his head. "I should have been focused on what was best for Noah." "A lot of people are concerned about the same things," Amara said diplomatically. "Well, they're wrong. What I saw today was a happy, healthy child who trusts his caregivers and feels secure in his home. That's what matters." Before he left, Mason pulled Ethan aside. "The board members who've been asking questions about the blog post? Yeah? I'm going to tell them to mind their own business. What happens in your home with your son is nobody else's concern." That evening, Mason sent flowers to Amara with a note. "Thank you for giving my grandson his voice. Mason Hale." It was the first time since the controversy started that someone from outside their immediate family had publicly supported their relationship. The next day brought another unexpected visitor, but this one was less welcome. Tessa arrived without calling first, carrying a large gift bag and wearing her brightest smile. "I brought sensory toys for Noah," she announced. "Research shows that autistic children benefit from—" "Tessa," Ethan interrupted. "We've talked about this." But Noah had already spotted her from his quiet corner. He immediately moved closer to Amara and went very still. "Scared," he whispered. "It's okay," Amara murmured back. "You're safe." Tessa approached with her gift bag, talking in that overly bright voice that always made Noah nervous. "Hi, sweetie. Remember me? I brought you some wonderful new toys." Noah pressed against Amara's arm and didn't respond. "He needs time to warm up to people," Amara explained. "Of course he does. Poor little thing has been through so much stress lately." Tessa's tone suggested the stress was Amara's fault. She knelt down and opened the gift bag, pulling out expensive-looking toys designed for children with sensory needs. "These are supposed to be very calming," she said, arranging them on the floor. "Much better than regular toys." Noah looked at the new items but didn't move toward them. "Want to try the blocks you already have?" Amara suggested. Noah nodded and reached for his familiar red, blue, yellow, and green blocks. "Oh," Tessa said, watching him line them up in his usual pattern. "Those are quite simple, aren't they?" "They work for him," Ethan said from the doorway. "Simple and predictable help him feel secure." Tessa spent another 20 minutes trying to engage Noah with different activities, but everything she suggested seemed to make him more withdrawn. Finally, he looked up at Amara with pleading eyes. "Mummy song?" he whispered. Amara started humming their familiar tune, and Noah immediately relaxed against her shoulder. Tessa watched this interaction with a tight smile. "Still using that word, I see," she commented. "Noah uses whatever words help him communicate," Ethan replied. "But surely by now he could learn the difference between Mommy and Amara." "He knows the difference," Amara said gently. "He uses both words for different purposes. Mommy song means he wants to feel safe. Amara means he wants my attention." "That seems unnecessarily complicated." "It works for Noah," Ethan said firmly. "And that's what matters." When Tessa finally left, the house felt lighter immediately. Noah emerged from his quiet corner and went to Ethan. "Tessa gone?" he asked. "Yes, she's gone." "Good," Noah said with feeling. That afternoon, they had their most peaceful day in weeks. No phone calls, no visitors, no reporters. Just a family going about their normal routine. Noah played with his familiar blocks, not the expensive new toys Tessa had brought. He asked for more crackers, please, at snack time. He told Nadine that her cookies were yummy. Small, ordinary moments that felt precious because they were theirs. That evening, while Noah was having his bath, Ethan made a series of phone calls. The first was to his lawyer, asking about getting a restraining order against photographers who came onto their property. The second was to Noah's school, confirming that his placement in the special needs program would continue without any changes to his support plan. The third was to Tessa. "I need you to stop visiting," he told her. "Your presence upsets Noah, and that's not negotiable." "Ethan, I'm only trying to help." "I know you think you are. But the best help you can give us right now is space." After he hung up, Amara found him sitting in the living room, looking exhausted. "Hard conversation?" she asked. "Necessary conversation. I should have had it weeks ago." They sat together in comfortable silence, listening to Noah's happy splashing sounds from upstairs. "Do you think it's over?" Amara asked. "The worst of the attention?" "I think the worst is behind us. People have short attention spans. Something else will become controversial soon, and they'll forget about us. And when they do forget," Ethan smiled, "we'll still be here, still be a family, still be helping Noah grow and learn." "Together?" Amara asked, echoing Noah's favorite word. "Together," Ethan confirmed. 2 weeks later, life had settled into a new normal. The reporters had moved on to other stories. The blog post had been buried under dozens of newer controversies. The light-colored sedan no longer appeared on their street. Noah's vocabulary had grown to include excited, hungry, sleepy, and happy. He was using 3-word sentences regularly and had started asking why questions. On a sunny Thursday afternoon, they decided to try another trip to the park. Noah was ready for more adventure, and the quiet morning hours meant fewer crowds. At the playground, Noah surprised them by walking straight to the swings. "Up, please," he said to Ethan. "You want to swing?" "Yes, high swing." Ethan pushed him gently, then a little higher when Noah asked for more. "This is fun," Noah announced. "I like swings." Another breakthrough. Not just trying something new, but declaring his feelings about it. On the way home, they stopped at the neighborhood coffee shop. Noah had never been inside before, but he'd seen it from the car and expressed curiosity. The barista smiled when they walked in. "Is this the little boy who lives near the park?" "Yes," Ethan replied cautiously. "I've seen you walking together sometimes. He always looks so happy." Noah, who was usually shy with strangers, surprised everyone by speaking up. "I am happy," he said clearly. "This is Dadi and Amara. Nice to meet you all," the barista said warmly. "Would you like some milk, sweetheart?" "Chocolate milk, please," Noah replied. It was the longest conversation he'd ever had with a stranger. As they sat at a small table, sharing a cookie and watching people walk by outside, Amara felt overwhelmed by how normal everything felt. A father, his son, and the woman who helped care for them. Having coffee on a Thursday afternoon. No drama, no controversy, no judgment from strangers. Just a family being together. "What are you thinking about?" Ethan asked. "How ordinary this feels. How right." "It is right," he said simply. Noah, who was breaking his cookie into careful pieces, looked up at them. "Happy," he announced. "Noah happy." "We can see that," Amara said, smiling. "You look very happy." "Dadi happy?" "Yes, Daddy's very happy." "Amara happy?" "Yes, Amara's happy too." Noah nodded with satisfaction. All happy. That evening, after Noah was asleep, Ethan and Amara sat on the back porch, watching fireflies begin to twinkle in the gathering darkness. "I've been thinking," Ethan said quietly. "About what?" "About making this official." Amara's heart skipped. "Making what official?" "Us. This family. What we mean to each other." He turned to face her. "I know this started as a job. You were hired to help Noah, and you've done that beyond anything I could have hoped for. But somewhere along the way, it became something more." "Ethan, let me finish. I'm not asking you to marry me tomorrow. I'm not even sure I'm asking you to marry me at all. Yet. But I am asking if you'd be willing to explore what this could be. Slowly, honestly, with Noah's needs always coming first." Amara felt tears in her eyes. "Are you sure? After everything we've been through? All the judgment and criticism? Because of everything we've been through, we faced it together, and we came out stronger." She thought about Noah's breakthrough moments. His first words, his laughter at the park, his proud declaration that he was happy. She thought about the aquarium, when he'd brought their hands together and whispered, "Together." "Yes," she said simply. "I'd like to explore what this could be." Ethan smiled. "Slow and honest." "Slow and honest," she agreed. From inside the house, they heard a small voice calling, "Daddy? Amara?" Noah had woken up and was looking for them. They went inside together and found him sitting up in bed, hair messy from sleep. "Bad dream?" Amara asked. "No dream. Just want to check." "Check what, sweetheart?" "Check you're here." "We're here," Ethan said, sitting on the edge of the bed. "We're always here." "Good," Noah said, lying back down. "Stay close?" "Always," Amara promised. As Noah drifted back to sleep, she and Ethan sat in the quiet room, watching over the little boy who had brought them together. Whatever the future held, they would face it as a family. Unconventional, maybe. Complicated by outside opinion, certainly. But real, strong, built on love and patience and the simple truth that sometimes the most important families are the ones we choose. 6 months later, on a crisp autumn morning, they returned to the aquarium. Noah was taller now, more confident, ready to explore new exhibits they'd skipped on their first visit. He held both their hands as they walked through the entrance. But this time it wasn't because he was scared. It was because he wanted them all together. At the jellyfish exhibit, he stood in the same spot where he'd first brought their hands together. "Remember this place?" Amara asked. "Yes," Noah said solemnly. "This is where I said, 'together.' And what did you mean when you said that?" Noah looked up at Ethan, then at Amara, then back at the drifting jellyfish. "Meant family," he said simply. "Daddy and Amara and Noah, family together." Ethan squeezed his hand. "That's right, buddy. Family together." They spent the whole day at the aquarium this time. Noah was brave enough to touch a starfish in the touch tank. He laughed at the silly faces of the pufferfish. He counted all the different colors in the tropical reef display, but his favorite spot was still the jellyfish exhibit. Before they left, he insisted on one more visit. Standing in the blue glow, watching those impossible creatures drift like dreams, Noah made an announcement. "This is our special place," he said, "where our family started." And he was right. This was where a scared, silent little boy had found the courage to say what he wanted. This was where 2 adults had realized that the best families aren't always the ones you're born into, but sometimes the ones you choose. This was where they learned that love doesn't always look the way people expect it to, but it always feels like coming home. As they walked to the car, Noah swinging between his 2 favorite people, Amara thought about how far they'd all come. Noah was starting kindergarten in the fall. He had friends now, and teachers who understood his needs. His vocabulary had grown to hundreds of words, and he was learning to read. Ethan had sold his tech company and started a foundation to support families with special needs children, work that felt meaningful instead of just profitable. And Amara had completed her certification in special education. She still worked with Noah part-time, but she was also helping other families navigate their own challenges. Different paths that had led them all to the same place, home. On the front porch of their house, Noah performed his evening ritual. He took his red toy car out of his pocket and placed it carefully in Amara's palm, then in Ethan's palm. "Together," he said, smiling up at them. "Together," they replied. Inside the house, Nadine was humming in the kitchen. She'd become more than a housekeeper over the months. She was the grandmother figure Noah had never known he needed. As Ethan unlocked the front door and Noah ran inside to show Nadine a stuffed octopus from the gift shop, Amara stood for a moment on the threshold. 6 months ago, she'd been a nanny hired to help a struggling child. Now she was part of a family that had taught her what love really looked like. Messy sometimes, complicated by other people's opinions, challenged by circumstances beyond their control, but also strong, resilient, built on a foundation of patience and understanding, and the simple belief that everyone deserves to feel safe and loved. "Coming inside?" Ethan asked from the doorway. "Yes," Amara said, stepping across the threshold. "I'm coming home." Behind her, the neighborhood was quiet except for the sound of children playing in distant backyards and the gentle hush of evening settling over their street. No reporters, no photographers, no strangers judging their family from the outside. Just the peaceful end of another ordinary, extraordinary day. And in his room upstairs, Noah was already humming the lullaby that had started it all. The song that meant safety, love, and family. The song that had taught them all what together really means. Home,